In this video, we're going to review over another example of a matching game on the LSAT logic games section. But before I do that, and we'll talk about why I did this little purple grid here, let's quickly review over what makes something a matching game. And again, just as a quick reminder, the three basic game types are going to be the sequencing games, the matching games, and the distribution games. Okay? So in this video, we're going to be focusing on matching games, and let's just explain what that means. In this case, we have to arrange, we're going to give a certain number of players, which in this case we have two. We have Nikki and Otto, right? So I'm just going to put those here for a moment, Nikki and Otto. And we are going to try to match different things, in this case, 5 sports: hockey, kayaking, mountaineering, running, and volleyball. So let's just put those as like this. What has we got here? Hockey, kayak, mountaineering, running, and volleyball. So these 5 sports need to be arranged somehow between Nikki and N and O, right? Nikki and Otto. Okay, now, so we have to arrange those things. Here's the idea. We can, so it's 2 things that involve a matching game. Number 1, order doesn't matter, unlike with sequencing. For example, supposing I was allowed to place 2 things in this group, in this box right here for Nikki, and supposing I put H and K in there. Well, it makes no difference whether we put H first and then K, or K first and then H. These mean the same thing, okay? All that you're trying to figure out is which objects, which pieces can go into any of these boxes, but which piece I put in first or second or whatever doesn't matter, unlike with sequencing, where order does matter. So matching, order doesn't matter, and number 2, we are allowed to repeat pieces. So once I've placed, say, for example, say I put M over here, that doesn't mean I can't necessarily put it somewhere else, either with O or maybe in another space with N, right? So those 2 things. We have to arrange these pieces in such a way that, distributed among these N and O columns here, or rows, I should say, such that the order doesn't matter and we are allowed to repeat. Okay? That was kind of the cliff notes of this, but let's look at the rules here for a moment. Now, you might be asking yourself, how do you know this is in fact a matching game? Well, let's look at the verbal clues here. We've got 2 people during fall, winter, spring, and summer. We've got N and O each participating in these 5 sports. And then look at this. They say the rules that we play in exactly 4 different sports. Each child participates in mountaineering, running, or volleyball each winter. So look at this. We're basically stating we have to arrange the sports among these groups, but each child potentially can play. If they say each child participates in exactly 4 different sports, but there's only a total of 5 sports, we must be repeating those sports somewhere. Let's take a moment and just think about that, but hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's just look at this. Here's the way I would set this up. Since we have 4 seasons, fall, winter, spring, and summer, so let's put that down. So I say in the fall, winter, spring, and summer, each child gets to play any of these 5 games. All right, let's go through our rules and see what deductions we can make. So rule number 1, it says each child participates in exactly 4 different sports. So I'm going to say NO equals 4 sports. Okay. Number 2, in the fall, okay, so in column F, this column right here, what happens? Each child participates in mountaineering, running, or volleyball. Okay, so that means we've got to have mountain, running, or volleyball. I'm not going to start filling that in just quite yet, but let's keep going. Rule 3. In the winter, we've got each child participates in hockey or volleyball. Okay, that's not as many options there. So let's look at rule number 4. That says in the spring, what's going on in the spring? We've got each child is either kayaking, so K, M, R, or V. All right, rule 5, summer. What's going on here? Kayaking, mountaineering, or volleyball. Kayaking, M, or V. And finally, rule number 6. Well, not finally, there's 2 more. N and O do not participate in the same sport during the same season. So N, O, different. And then rule 7. O's summer sport, so O summer is V. Okay, well, that's a lot of rules. There's a lot of information here, and you might be tempted, looking at this if you're taking the test, that this might be a game that you might put a pin in, do other games first, and then come back to this one if you had time, just based on the length of the rules. But actually, that would be a tactical mistake. Generally speaking, the more rules you have, the more things you can fill in, and the more readily answerable the questions are going to be. There's less ambiguity or uncertainty. If I only had just a couple of rules, there wouldn't be much that I could do, and those questions might be rather difficult. But when I have a whole ton of rules like this, I'm usually able to make a pretty detailed sketch of what is and is not allowed. Okay, so let's just try this for a minute. I'm going to try to fill in as much as I can. Let's switch up colors again. Let's do yellow. All right. So the first most obvious rule is O in the summer is V. So O summer volleyball goes there. All right. But now remember what this rule states is that let's look at something else. Since we've placed V, let's look at other rules that have V in them, right? Because we've eliminated that for O. Spring's got V in it, but there's a lot in there. Actually, let me put a check mark here. We did that rule. This one's summer's got a few here, K, M, and V. And then winter's got H or V. I'm going to start with this one because there's only two possibilities for winter. Either you played hockey or you played volleyball. Well, we know that in winter, Otto has already played volleyball, so we know that means he's got to be playing hockey here, which then means, check that rule off, which means just think about this. N has to be playing volleyball there. Because remember, your only options are you either are playing volleyball or hockey. And then this rule, number 6, states that whatever you're playing, it has to be different than the other person. So if Otto is forced to play hockey because I've already played volleyball, then it must be that Nikki is playing volleyball. Okay? Hopefully that's making sense. So we've checked off this rule. What else could we do here? Let's think about this. In the fall, well, we've placed volleyball for both of them, right? So that means in the fall, we could be playing either M or R, and same for Otto. All right, so we take care of that rule. The other rule we know, let's look at spring. We know that you can be playing either in the spring, K, M, R, or V, but we placed V, so that means it can be K, M, or R in the spring for either of them, because we don't know which is which, so that's that one. And then for the summer, we know that, well, we've placed summer for O, so that means for N, it can be either K or M. Okay, and that's basically, then we're basically done. We've placed all of those things. The only things we want to remember specifically is that after having placed all this, Rule 6 and Rule 1. We have a maximum of 4 sports, sort of duh, right, for these. And then 6, that we have to remember that whatever M is playing, say in the fall, O can't be playing the same thing. So that can help us, right? Because if I know, for example, that N is doing R in the fall, that automatically means O has to be doing M. Okay, so we're going to pause here with this video, and in the next one, we are going to start trying to tackle some of these questions.